My name is Christou. I'm the manager for services operations for Hope. My role really is to support the various teams we have both regionally and in Metro and the services they provide. How I came to be in community services, some of my background, I was an accountant. What really drew me within that work was about me sitting in front of someone and supporting them. And we talk about their tax, but then I would talk about their lives, their families as well. So coming into them working in the UK in prisons and really understanding people's journey. And for me, working in community services allows you to do that. We're privileged. We're very privileged to be in this space that someone would tell you their personal history and you actually walk with them to do that. And then as retrained as a counsellor for me was really significant because it allowed me to do that and be able to sit there in that space. And uncomfortable as it can be, which is very, and you hear some of the stories. However, also at the same time, how you know people can change. As much as what someone's done in the past doesn't mean that that's what they're going to do moving forward. And with that right support, for me, each day, that's what I bring in, the idea that people can be helped and people can change, which led me into men's behaviour change programs, which then allowed me to work as a counsellor with men that use violence and at the same time supporting that change from them. And one thing that's drawn me to Hope is the idea of hope. If you don't have hope, you don't have hope that you can change, you don't have hope things will get better, is where we see the high suicide rates that we have. I remember the poem, and it's really important poem, given my lived experience, that hope is a bloodline of the heart. Without it, there's only darkness. So when I come and sit in front of someone, I bring that hope. I bring the hope that you can change, the hope that it won't be easy. However, one thing you can do, and you can do with support, that you can change. I think our 16 days that we have coming up talk about men and boys. And the reason why we talk about men and boys is that historically where we've talked about it was a woman's responsibility for the man to change, which is absolutely not. It's the man's responsibility to change. And what's important for me is that if we can work with the men and the boys, particularly the boys with that primary prevention work, we have some hope. Again, and I'll say about hope, we have that hope that when they become adults, they won't have that abusive behaviour. They won't have those views and those gender drivers that are creating, that do inflict so much harm and pain to women and children. And once we can do that, we can stop that man being abusive and being harmful. It will then give more hope for those children to have that role model who will then grow up then without those views, which hopefully allows us to stop or prevent domestic violence in one generation. Without that, we don't have the ability to do that if we don't stop it where it starts, which is with the boys. I don't have to worry about whether I'm going to wear shorts that are coming up to above my knee. I don't have to worry about that when I'm walking to a room, I'm going to be judged. If I'm a female that has a family, that has children, that has to justify the idea that they have children and they may have to leave work at 2:00. So as privilege is about that, as a male, you have things that you don't have to worry about and do. That's male privilege. What we've done before, I think, that hasn't been successful is that we've shamed men. We call them perpetrators, we call them that they're violent, they cause all harm. Starting to invite men into that conversation and inviting boys into that conversation is how it works. The struggle we have is that we are challenged by opposing cultures even when we're doing that work. The idea how we've shamed men at times and created this manosphere hasn't helped as well. So I think there's better understanding now, and we're a lot more sophisticated and compassionate about how we do that. Definitely has been a shift, and I've noticed it within the work that we do with regards to actually the work that we do with men and boys. Because we hear, and if I go back 10 years ago, where we're working with family domestic violence, about the women, it was on the women were responsible for the changes. It was women's responsibility for the change. Well, actually, it's not. The responsibility lies with the man. And it's important that we work with the men. It's not about taking away resources from the women's services, because absolutely we require them, sadly, and we need all of that support. However, it's inviting those men and understanding that if the man doesn't change, then it keeps occurring and keeps happening. I'll give you an example where we're working in a women's refuge a number of years ago. We had 3 women there that were affected by the same man. So as much as the work we did with the women, we had one man that was going around causing harm to so many women. Surely if we could work with that man to actually support him to stop doing that, for him to change, it would actually save that ongoing effect it has on women. And I think that's where the shift is now. We understand more that we need to invite the men in. It's the men are accountable to change. It's not for the woman to change the man. So a man that feels that they cannot contribute to the change that we need for domestic violence. And I'm always curious with that, and always wonder, and always approach that with curiosity rather than judgment. They're saying, well, then all of your friends don't have any sexist comments. You never make a sexist comment about a woman. You never actually catch yourself thinking about a woman, that why she got promoted or what she's doing. And you never see your boy being any better than a girl. So that's why I approach it, from that curiosity to talk about that, and I talk about friends and understand actually where he feels that he doesn't see any form of violence. And the problem we see with family domestic violence, we see as physical violence. And this is I think the education, what we're getting a lot better doing now, and while we have legislation for coercive control, it isn't about someone hits someone. That's domestic violence. The psychological effects of coercive control can outweigh and can be longer lasting than a physical bruise that heals. Not laughing at the joke, actually, then what that does, it tells that other person that isn't funny. Once you laugh or you smile, you actually, what you're doing is saying that's okay. That's okay to be sexist and make that remark. Keeping silence can be very powerful in respect of that. The person looks at you and realizes that actually you're not finding that funny. And hopefully that would trigger for them to think, okay, what did I just say? Why isn't he laughing? Because he normally laughs at my jokes. So silence can be used in that way. Is there an area where we can actually focus with family domestic violence? One specific area? My answer to that, I think it requires more than just one area. I don't think one specific focused area will work. And I see it very much as a Swiss cheese. You have one piece of cheese and there's a hole in there. You put another piece of cheese with a hole, it covers some of the hole. Another piece of cheese covers the hole until you have 20, 30 pieces of cheese and you can't see through. That's how, for me, you can't just have one piece. In that, we have family domestic violence and all the drivers that go with it through our systems, through our politics, through our education, through our family life, through our sporting clubs, through our workplaces. So to say, and then supporting the women and children in our refuges is important, supporting the men and the boys in their behaviour change and primary prevention, and also responses once they've committed that, or people that have used violence, how we respond to it. So I don't think we can say that just one area, because it's a continuum of so much that needs to come together. That's why it makes it so challenging. That's why it doesn't allow us to actually make a quick decision and a quick change, because there's so many aspects and facets to it, and the nuances of family domestic violence that go into why we use it doesn't allow for one easy remedy. And yes, at times we focus, there is shift in the focus. As you know, 16 days this year is about men and boys. So that's important. And we focus on the men and boys. Doesn't mean we then don't do everything else, absolutely not. It's not either or, it's and.